was born here in Texas. Lived on the Texas coast, grew up on the Texas coast, worked on the Texas coast.
There's all kinds of species that depend on the nutrition and the vegetation that we provide here in Texas.
We winter so many birds down here that I can never promise anybody a limit. I can't ever even promise anybody a duck, but I can almost always promise them that they'll see a lot of waterfowl. And when I say a lot, I mean thousands.
I would love to show you in the wintertime where you would have a field like this that may have 10, 12, 15,000 pintails sitting on it with sprinkled teal and mallards and gadwalls and widgeon, whatever else. And of course, the great northern spoonbill does enjoy the same habitat. We love them all.
Well, where we're standing is part of the Upper Chenier Plain of the Gulf Coast, and it's of extreme importance for wintering waterfowl. And what the community is faced with is a habitat deficit. There are thousands of acres that we lack every year to provide for our objectives for waterfowl. So currently and looking long term, what our objective is try to provide that level of habitat that they need.
Research that's been done with Texas A&M in Kingsville, Bart Ballard, our very own Ty Anderson, currently a biologist for Ducks Unlimited in South Carolina. Their research showed that in this part of Texas, by the time the pintails spend their winter here and leave, there's a lot of things that don't look good for them. They have reduced body weights, lower survival rates. About every other pintail survives the winter down here. That is not good.
You know, pintails really prefer shallow, sheet water kind of areas. Here on the Texas coast, most of those areas have disappeared. And the only place that really represents those kind of habitats currently are rice fields. The rice acreage has declined so heavily here in Texas from a high of 460,000 all the way down to a low of about 145,000 acres. There's just no more habitat out there.
What happens to the pintails is what we can expect to happen to other migratory waterfowl. And if they're dropping off at such a rate, we need to be really concerned.
We want to provide the resources for the waterfowl and the water birds of North America, and identifying what they need not only now, but what they may need in the future.
Key things that really ducks need here on the Texas coast: water, food, refuge. If we have that over the landscape, ducks will continue to come to Texas, ducks will continue to be a tradition, and Ducks Unlimited can still have a presence here in Texas.
The program in Texas has been ongoing now for almost 20 years or close to it, a Texas Prairie Wetlands Project, and that's where we have landowners that enroll in a program. It's a partnership, totally partnership-driven program, and together we work with landowners, encourage them to develop their wetland habitat for waterfowl.
I think we are making progress by doing small projects and kind of using those as demonstration projects, and really getting the community, on with us. And I think as we do small projects and we bring the community on board with us, I think we're able to do larger and larger projects. And I think if we're able to do that, I think all of those resources will benefit.
Texas is 96% privately owned. So Ducks Unlimited partners with landowners and make sure that those landowners that want to do conservation easements have those available to them, put conservation easements on, and help design and put in projects all along the upper and lower Texas coast, one of the primary wintering areas in the country.
3 or 4 years ago, I was sitting there with some acres that I had visions of making into great habitat, and I didn't know where to go. But I called the guys at Ducks Unlimited, and they put together a plan for me. And I can't say thank you enough for the help that your staff, Ducks Unlimited staff, has given me in getting this place to be what I consider fairly prime habitat.
And these wetlands, they're not only providing habitat, necessary habitat for waterfowl and other species, but it's also for mankind. These wetlands actually protect our inland shores from the surges from the storms when we do get those.
If we didn't have these coastal wetlands, you wouldn't have Port Arthur, you wouldn't have Orange, you wouldn't have Lake Charles, you wouldn't have Biloxi, Mississippi. It's part of their life.
The Chenier Plain of the Gulf of Mexico is one of the most important parts of the country, not just because of waterfowl, but all of our fisheries. If you like oysters and crabs and shrimp, one of the most important fisheries we have in the entire United States. But as has been told over the last several years, that coastline serves as the most important buffer or storm protection or our insurance for our communities when it comes to storms that we could possibly have.
We have a tremendous challenge ahead of us. If we all, as volunteers, get behind the efforts of our conservation staff and our biologists, then I think that we can make a tremendous difference and reverse the loss that we're seeing day in and day out.
It's not always going to be here. Things change, and we have to be aware of those changes. And the only way to be aware of that is to be involved.
And what happens if we were to just give up on this area?
Oh, that's a scary thought. I mean, I think from just an overall habitat perspective in wetlands, they would be lost. We're facing constant battles with shoreline erosion and saltwater intrusion and hurricanes, and eventually this could turn into a big open lake area. Who knows what the birds would do? They would definitely come here in lower numbers and eventually may go somewhere else. The importance that this area provides to provide them resources to get back to the breeding grounds every year. You know, the birds would be going with a lower body condition, producing less young, and eventually an overall decrease in the population. And that's just something that we don't want to see happen. Not on our watch here in Texas.